we start the show?
Let's segue into the show now.
Let's
And let's
Segue.
segue now. Segue.
Wow.
Segue.
That was almost Australian.
That was almost Australian. Justin, you started. I can't do it.
Yeah. All right, welcome back to another episode of Chummy Thumbs, everybody. We got a very interesting show. We are sticking with the sort of variety format. We each brought a topic that we want to talk about. Some of it's a bit of an extension from last week, actually, because we wanted to dig a bit more into it. It was something that we were all interested in. So thank you, Shao, for bringing that. We're going to get into some more gaming stuff, maybe a little bit more of the adaptation stuff. We'll find out when Shao takes off with that at the start of the show. And then there's some exciting news that came out of Vancouver this week, hockey related. And so I wanted to talk about that, but I don't want to give you too much more information because I'd actually like it if you stayed to listen to that part. So I don't want to divulge too much. And then if we have time for it, we'll get to it at the end of this week. If not, we'll start next week with it. And that is re-releases of things like, re-showing A New Hope in the theater, or When We Were Young tour, for example, of concerts, getting all those old bands back together. Are these just cash cows? I mean, we know it's a business, right? So are they just cash cows, or is this a nostalgia thing and something that, actually people get excited about and go do? So those are the three topics. We'll see how many we get through today. What we don't, we'll pick up tomorrow. So let's start the show.
Let's start
The show. Shao.
Yeah, thank you, Justin, for so gracefully and neatly passing me the ball. I wanted to carry on a little bit more about last time's topic that I picked regarding gaming, because I think we barely scratched the surface, and it's become such a huge, it's always a big industry, but it's become even bigger now that it's kind of crossing over to the movie world, and the movie world is crossing over to the gaming world sometimes. And it's just, I don't even know where it's going to go in the next 10, 15, 20 years. I'm excited because there's always times where I thought, you remember when the PlayStation came out and it was 3D graphics and all that stuff? And I was thinking, there's no way it's going to get better than this.
Yeah.
And now you look back at, Lara Croft, the first Tomb Raider on PlayStation, and it's just all poly, hard edges, Madonna boobs, And back then I thought it was amazing. And now it's even crazier.
Now the boobs look even better.
They have weight now, and they move naturally.
Move.
So I think that's what it looks like. But and as Justin said, I do kind of want to focus a little bit on video game to TV show or movie. It's not a remake, is it? Would you call it a remake? A remake was
no. Yeah,
No,
what
just
would you call that?
adaptations. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
Of
okay.
what?
Hayden, quickly, in 5 seconds, you have what make up a fun name for what that's called when they turn a video game into a movie. 3, 2. If you say adaptations, I'm gonna fucking come through this.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like that's the actual
I
word.
can see it forming in your lips.
It's a voovie.
There you go. I love it. Nice.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, when
Look
all
at his
fails,
improv
just,
skills.
yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Can't
compared to a year
use
ago.
the real facts. Make some shit
Yes.
up.
Yes.
So
yes.
these movies, yes.
So these movies, I think most recently, as an example,
Vovies.
there's so we are missing the video element to this for our viewers, which is such a shame. But most recently, as I was trying to say before I got distracted, is that one of the, I guess, more critically acclaimed movies is that Justin really liked is Fallout. So Fallout is one that really worked, and one that even people who didn't play the video game like me still enjoyed. And I know a bit about it here and there in terms of the video game aspect. I know the outfits, I know some of the gear, I played the mobile game, and The music is very signature in that era, right? So, Justin, for you, what did Fallout do that made you feel that this was a really good show?
Uh, I just want to start by saying Fallout wasn't so much a Voovie as it was a Vuvavision show. But
Vuvavision.
Correct.
yes. Oh man, I was I was sitting on that so long, just waiting to say it, and it was as funny to me as it was in my head. Oh, I need a minute. Okay. Fallout. My gosh, what? So the thing about Fallout was I had never actually played the game Fallout before I watched the show. After I watched the show, I went and started playing the game.
Oh, really? Okay.
But Halo was one where I played the game because, like I said, I grew up. Xbox was my next gaming console after N64. I had a buddy who had PlayStation. We did a lot of like SSX Tricky, which is a snowboarding one, and Tony Hawk, like the OG Tony Hawk. Um, but when I got an Xbox, Halo was the game. Like it was the Xbox game. So when that show came out, uh, I was so excited for it because I knew the game. Now it'd been a long time since I'd played the game, but I just liked and this goes for Fallout too, but I can't speak of coming from the game.
Right.
And maybe says more about me, but I love that they come out with these games and they do not shy away from the violence of it. Like it's not like there's really good story. Like it's not just about, especially with Fallout, like there's a lot of gore in Fallout, I would say. Like it's definitely, I think, more gore than Halo, although Halo starts with some stuff. But I really like the story through it and the performances through it. And in this, I find too, when something's coming from a video game world, those worlds are so unique because when you're building a video game, like you can build, like there's no laws, there's no rules, right?
Totally.
And so I feel like some of those shows really do a good job of, it's almost like watching a really good like fantasy or something, or science fiction, right? Where you can have different species, or like in Fallout, you get introduced to this character early on who you like, and he's kind of getting like shit on, but you know he holds himself high and proud, and sort of sets this tone for who this person is as a human. Like, and then this nuclear fallout happens, and then we get reintroduced to this character later in the show, and somehow he wasn't in one of these fallout shelters. He was affected in some way. I forget the names from now. Is it like a goyle or something?
The ghoul?
Yeah, the ghoul,
The
and
ghoul.
his face is like his kind of nose is missing, and there's this, like at his core you can still feel like it's him, but obviously he's been living and surviving in this completely fucked up world for quite some time now, so there's also this like ruthlessness to him and this no bullshit. So I really like what they're doing with the characters in this world, and how, and even in Halo as well, like you can still find this relatability to a lot of these characters. And so that's what I like. And I know I never watched Last of Us. I know it's filmed here, and shame on me, and it's probably one of the maybe first ones to come out from a video game that was that successful.
Right.
Like I can't think of one before that was as successful as that. Can you?
No, I don't think so. In terms
No.
of,
And so that was kind of like the turning of the page. It was like you can take video games that are like these nerdy, you know, young person thing, but you can actually turn them into these really great stories for TV shows. So that's
Yeah.
what I like.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it is these games that they're making into movies, they have such a soft spot in so many people growing up playing them, right? So there's a lot to do with nostalgia. So the thing that Hayden brought up last time was when Sonic 1 came out with a trailer, they made it, oh, thanks, Justin. Very nice. For our viewers or listeners, Justin is holding up a little poster framed poster of Sonic the Hedgehog back in the Sega days. And so the thing with that is they came out with a horrible design for Sonic, enough where the fans rage, and there was backlash. Let's just say there's backlash, and so it made the studio. I'm not sure if they panicked or anything, but they're like, we got to redo this, and they sure enough did, and they made it look like Sonic without human teeth and without crazy features. And I think a big part of it when you're making these movies and adaptations is that you need to first of all make it look like the movie or like the video game rather. For example, if you have Halo, and the signature thing with Halo is the armor, the green
Master
armor,
Chief, man, yeah.
with the visor thing. Like, if it doesn't look like that, then what the fuck? Like, then it's not really Halo. It's kind of the same thing as why I hated Super Mario Brothers as a kid. It's just like nothing looked like it. They just used their names, kind of the general world of it, but nothing looked like it. So I do understand it's hard to make something like Super Mario Brothers into a live action movie with humans playing Mario, because it just is not gonna work. It's not gonna look like anything that's. Yes, I think we know what fucking Mario looks like, and Justin's just fucking showing his poster.
He's got all these cue cards.
So
Dude, I wish my Halo helmet was within reach, or Master Chief helmet. I swear to God, it's like it's just around the corner.
Hey, while I speak, you
We'll
can
wait
go
for
get
you.
it.
While you'll get it, I was gonna ask Hayden actually that. So the big news now is that they're going to release a Zelda movie. I think in 2020. I think they're maybe starting and filming in 2026. So I'm not sure when it's going to come out. But if you were to be assigned to direct that movie, what are some things that you would think that you must have
Question.
for this to be a success? Because it's a fucking big franchise, huge fans. If you fuck it up, you'll probably get some nasty mail. You know what I mean? Like, what will you do to give the fans what they want?
Number one thing, which is, I think,
Number one thing, what is Zelda, right? Is you going to ask? Because it's not on Sega.
who is Zelda? Is the guy, right? The main character, yeah. I know it's not. That's Link. Zelda is the princess. The reason I think some of these newer versions, newer films, because they tried so many years to do film adaptations and they just fell flat. And I think it was because Hollywood was so against working with any other format. They were like, we can do it all ourselves. They didn't go to the source material. But now I think they're actually communicating and working with game developers. So if I was to be assigned directing the Zelda franchise, I would 100% hire a writing team that had written previous games, so that they would be able to craft a story that was very genuine and organic with what had already existed. Obviously, you'd have Hollywood writers that knew how screen formats worked, but I would get game writers in. And I think that's probably why, like, The Last of Us works and Fallout. These, I'm sure. The Halo one, I don't know if they collaborated with the game developers, but that would be my number one thing. Get people involved that had already worked on the video games, so that there was some actual cohesion and they weren't trying to develop themselves. Because we've seen it many, many times where, like, Game of Thrones were an example. They got further ahead than the source material, so they started to write it themselves. And it divided fans. Same with the Witcher series. Based on the games, which were based on the books. But they ran out, they decided to take it. The showrunner was like, no, I'm going to make the stories my own. Instead of, that's ultimately why Henry Cavill left the show, because he was like, you're not honoring the source material, so I'm out of here.
Yeah,
So,
did you guys
he's
watch?
a huge gamer too, right? So that's probably very near and dear to his heart. Sorry, Justin, go on.
Did you guys do Game of Thrones? Did you guys follow it?
I did the first 3 seasons.
I went up all the way to the last season, and then I kind of fell off because I watched a few episodes of the last season, and then I just didn't like it as much, and I didn't really care to follow it as much.
Yeah, and that's just like proof in the pudding for what you're talking about, Hayden, right? Because, I mean, you fell off earlier. I mean, I know they brought some of their own stuff in, but they followed. I mean, anybody who read them said obviously they don't follow it to a T, the books.
Right.
But so I'd never read the books, but I followed the show, loved it. It was one of, a show that, was still coming out weekly on HBO, I think it was, or Crave or whatever it was. And it was one of those ones that was fun to talk about with people after.
Yeah.
And that was like one of the biggest things, like talking with everybody like that followed it, was how disappointing the end was.
Right.
And it's like but I think that's kind of a point to what you're saying, Hayden, is when people try and go off on their own from an original idea, it doesn't always work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, also, Hayden, for you, another follow-up question is, if you were the director and you're getting pressure from your execs to be a little bit more, follow the woke agenda, make Link Chinese or something. Rink. We want you to cast him as Rink, Legend of Zelda. You know what I mean? Like, what would you push back and be like, guys, like, we can't do this without honoring the.
You know what? I have a great idea. Let's play this out. Let's see what he does. So, do you want to be the?
I'll be the head of Nintendo. Oh no, just kidding.
You're the head of.
You would be on my side for what I'm gonna say.
That's true. That's true.
You're the one. You're the exec, Shao. Okay.
Of the studio producing the movie.
The one that's in control of Hayden in the film and all
okay,
that.
Okay.
Yeah. And Hayden, you're the director. Okay, and we'll set it a little bit more. Hayden, this, like, you've been grinding for years, man, and this is like, you've put a string of really successful indies together. You're really starting to build a name around yourself, and this is kind of your first shot at a bigger budget, but that means more studio involvement. It's got to sell, it's got to make money. And Shao will ask you a question. I mean, sorry, Mr.
Yamamoto.
Mr. Yamamoto.
Yamamoto.
Okay.
Hey.
He put a pause in there. So Hayden, he's yeah. So that's the scene. Okay, we'll set it, and here we go. Yep.
Welcome, Hayden. Please have a seat. Have a seat. We are very excited to have you on board. I would like to hear a lot of your idea, but first, I need to say one thing, which is the new Zelda movie. We want to have an international, big movie, international.
Big movie.
Yes, we would like opening in China. China box office very big. We want to make a ring Chinese, and we want him to have a nunchuck instead of sword. Is that okay with you?
Do you know what a nunchuck is? Do I need to explain it?
I was gonna say,
I'm the assistant.
I was gonna say, first of all, please ignore my assistant's disrespectful laughter. Wow.
No, I'm his assistant. I'm Mr. Yamamoto's assistant.
So you're disrespectful, and you're his assistant.
Same character.
That was my character.
Don't leave the scene.
Yeah, stay.
Do you know what nunchuck is?
Do I know what a nunchuck is? Yes, I do know what a nunchuck is.
Yes, Michelangelo. Yeah. Bruce Lee.
I was going to say, Bruce Lee.
Bruce
Enter the Dragon.
Yes. So is that okay with you, or we make Chinese ring?
No, that's not okay with me. I just
respectfully. Money.
I know, but I would like to say, yeah, it is probably one of the largest film markets in the world. But I also believe that the game and the gamers are also a large market, and they will be the ones that will ultimately be seeing the film. So if we change it too much from the original game, you're going to alienate a big majority of your market.
So you say no.
Private conversation. I tell me about that. Good point.
100%.
Oh, time. Mr. Yamamoto.
So you say no to us.
Correct.
What the fuck you find this guy? Eric, where the fuck does this guy come from?
What did he just say to
He has
me?
a good point.
What
He
did
has
he
a good
just say?
point. Hear him out. Hear him out. Hayden, tell him the rest. He's got a good point, Mr. Yamamoto.
How you change my mind? Change my mind. I gave you money, you changed my mind.
So to let you know, Link, the main character of my movie of Zelda.
Yes, Rink.
He is not of any race that we know of, but he is not human. So to be Chinese would be to automatically take away from what the character is and the core of his story. So you must keep him the same.
But why not just the Chinese actor Jackie Chan available? Jackie Chan, I know, I get on cheap.
I love Jackie Chan, and I'm sure there is a part in this movie for Jackie Chan, but not for Link. He's a little bit too old.
Side conversation.
Okay, side conversation.
Maybe just the nunchuck instead of the sword, but keeps white short midget for Link. Nunchuck.
Okay. You propose.
So Mr. Yamamoto is not happy.
Did you just call him a
but
midget?
He is willing. He's willing to accept that as a very wise choice. But he thought, as far as the main weapon, that could be the nunchuck, because you're modernizing it. I don't know if that's the word he said. Yeah. And so while you keep that, you don't affect the character, you're growing the character in a sense and giving them a nunchuck.
Yes, nunchuck.
Okay, so Mr. Yamamoto, we can modernize this character, but how about he have both weapons? He can have a sword and he can have nunchucks.
I see why they find you. You're very smart. Man. Very smart. Okay, I give you money. You make movie for me.
Thank you very much.
Success. Great meeting. See everybody next week.
Okay.
So you'd be willing to, Hayden, because you make a very good point about keeping the character. It's very valid.
So
you'd be open to switching.
This is what Hayden would do. Hayden would film it with the nunchuck, but just remove it at the end.
That's exactly why I was making the negotiation. I will film both scenes, one with the nunchuck when the Japanese producers are on set, and then the cut will be with the sword.
I like that.
Nice.
I'd watch that movie. So Hayden, congratulations, you got the money. It's greenlit. But don't disappoint your investors. Oh yeah, of course.
How much yen? 100 million.
The yen's a little weak right now, but whatever. You'll get yours. But so aside from the writers who worked on, the video games, et cetera, is there any other things that you would want to have or need to have in your Zelda movie?
In my Zelda movie?
Or maybe just any video game adaptation.
Any video game. Well, I think take an example. Metal Gear Solid is one of the biggest franchises of video games and very cinematic themselves, and that is because they allow someone like Hideo Kojima to be heavily involved in the writing and the creation of it, involved in every aspect of those games. And last I checked, he was involved in the development of a series or a film of that. So if I was in charge of the Zelda game or any game franchise to bring to screen, writers that were involved in the games and also creators of those games. So whoever created Zelda, I'd be like, hey, come be in my corner. Let's develop this and bring it to a new format.
So you would just want to work closely with the source, essentially.
Yeah, with the source, with the material and the people that created this, why everybody loves what it is. I'm not there me personally, I'm not there to take an IP of something and flip it on its head and just in name only be the same.
Right. And I
Can you
think
think of anybody who's done that?
Like Michael Bay's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I've never even seen the films, but the character designs,
Whoa.
on those, I was not a fan of.
Easy.
And then, I mean, they even did it. I haven't seen them, but there was like a Tekken film, and there was a Dead or Alive film. All these fighting games where they just
Hitman.
cashed in. Yeah, they just cashed in on a name, and I don't think that they really took on board the elements of why these games are successful.
well, okay, let's segue a little bit into because you mentioned I think we mentioned Mortal Kombat last time briefly, just in passing. So, you know, the ones with Robin, what's his last name? The one who played the main character. He's also in Beverly Hills Ninja. Oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. Robin Shu.
I'm just looking at
We
it
have
up
the
real quick.
research team on it. Yeah.
I think it's yeah, Show. Okay. Anyways,
Yeah,
so they came up with a couple of
SHOU.
yes, they came up with a couple Mortal Kombat movies with him, and obviously, as a movie itself, it's not that great with the visual effects. Did you guys both watch the Mortal Kombat movies?
Like the most recent one.
The earlier ones. The earlier ones.
I watched the early one, but it's from what, like the mid '90s, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't remember it at all.
But the
So it
thing with
wasn't
that is,
memorable.
even though I
So
knew
memorable.
even though I knew the story kind of sucked, I still enjoyed it for other reasons. They kept the costumes, they kept the music. You know, the kind of core stuff for Mortal Kombat is the looks, the violence, and the music, I guess. Well, no, sorry, the music. I could be
I
wrong
would
about
say
that. I think the music was
100%.
right.
And the thing but those are hard video games to turn into movies
Totally, totally.
because the video game itself has no storyline. You each pick a character and you fight.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there's like little blurbs here and there, but to like create a story out of that, do you think that would be more challenging or easier? Because your source material is essentially your set design, the way the characters look, but you can kind of make up your own story from that point.
Yeah, yeah,
But also, like, I mean, part of that seems really exciting to me because, like, being able to create like more backstory for these characters, these very unique characters, but also seems really daunting because people love these characters as fighters in the game. And if you fuck that up, like you can lose people right away. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I
Totally.
feel like it'd be very hit or miss. Like, and maybe that's why like ones like that missed is because the story was not to expectation. Because it's not like they're following a story.
Yeah, and I think there are some questionable casting choices, but I think the new Mortal Kombat, I heard in an interview that it's another love letter to the fans, and there's a lot of fighting involved. And of course, when you have a fighting movie like this, you're gonna want to have some sick fight scenes. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I think I guess you call it a remake. The newer ones, I think some people were actually complaining that they focus too much on a story and not enough fighting, which is kind of
yeah,
so it's like
Can't
where do you find the
win.
balance?
Yeah.
You know, you can't win. And then when you have a movie like this, so you have everyone has their own favorite characters. You know, who did you play? I used to play as Scorpion. You know, that's one of the. And
That's
so
the
when
thing.
you
I never really played Sega growing up.
that's fair. But when you
Not even in
but
arcades.
when you watch these kind of movies, it's like when is my Kai coming out? When do I get to see Scorpion? When do I get
Yeah.
to see Sub-Zero and all that stuff? And if their fight scene is, you know, kind of shitty, then there you go. You're not gonna like this movie very much. But when you have 12-ish, 15, 16 characters you can pick from, how are you gonna pick which ones to have a good fight scene, or this is
And
a
how to
really cool
introduce them. Because when you
Yeah.
are going to have all those fans waiting, right? Like, okay, we've
Yeah.
seen this and this. We haven't seen Scorpio yet. And then like that moment where he appears, you want it to be epic.
Oh yeah, I
See-
remember when he does a cartwheel out of the trees in the woods in the first movie when he fights. He fights in the woods, and he has that famous line. His "Get over here" was
Get over here.
Yeah. Ooh, nice, Hayden.
See, what I would pitch this to a studio instead of trying to
Oh, here we
cram
go.
all those characters into one film. Why not do an Avengers style thing? If you know that there's a cast of fighting characters that there's a huge fan base for, why not do the most popular ones and give them all a solo fight that leads into a big tournament fight film like a Bloodsport or a kickboxer style final film?
Guys, we got to do this. We got to do this. We got to package this right now before somebody else takes this.
And you could do
Yes.
that with Street
Cut
Fighter.
all that
You
out,
could do
Hayden.
that with
Cut it
Mortal
out.
Kombat.
Cut-
Yeah, here's my pitch. Cut.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do.
Street Fighter, I think, is hard though when you have characters that, I mean, this formula goes for Mortal Kombat too. But when you have characters that are human-like, but obviously with an anime twist and the design, when you put them on screen, no one's gonna look. I mean, I don't think fans will. You're not gonna satisfy all the fans. That's what I'm trying to say. When you have Ken, who's this American with long blonde hair, and he looks cool in the game, but when you put him on screen, this jacked guy with black eyebrows and long blonde hair and in a red,
Come on, Chris
karate
Hemsworth.
outfit.
Chris Hemsworth as Ken. Let's do this. That would be so good. Come on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they have,
Sure.
they have to be able to fight. They got to be able to fight. You
Yeah.
got to get
I
real
think
fighters.
And then what about Guile? You have a guy with a freaking flat top, the head, and like a jack guy with no eyebrows. He's gonna look so weird, you know. And Dalsim, you know, fucking yoga master.
And the
Sometimes-
question is, do you go with kind of like the woke agenda and maybe make him white?
a white guru, like a white yoga
guru.
and make him look like a
No,
woman.
no, it's like a woman, like
Why
Dolly.
not just gender reverse
and she
all
wears
of them?
Lululemons and
Yes.
and yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think I always feel that that's going to be really, really, really tough to do to have movies where the characters look human, but they're not human, and when you put them on screen, it's going to look really weird. Street Fighter movies in the past have been, as we know, not great.
I do like Hayden's idea though. I think it would be like franchise it.
Yeah,
You
I
don't
think
even
that
have
could
to have
work.
every single one have their own movie. You can have a couple in each movie, right?
Or even like
Be
or like
interesting.
even series first or something, and then put a movie or something like that. That could work too.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on. Shao, thanks for bringing that topic again.
Thank you, and
Still feel like
congratulations
there's-
again, Hayden, on your deal with
Yes.
Mr. Yamamoto.
That was great. So I know I said in the intro that we'd get to my hockey stuff next, but we all know this is Hayden's show, and he said that he was going to go next with his topic, and if there was time, I could speed read mine off because
You put that way
He did.
nicer than he did. I mean, we had to
I
cut
know,
that
but
out.
it's his show. What am I
I get it.
supposed to
I get
do?
it. I get it. I get it.
What am I
get it.
supposed to do?
His
I know,
job's
I know.
riding on the line to being nice to me, so.
It is because remember how we had auditioned for the show in the first place?
Yes.
If you look at the bottom, Shao, it was a 1-year contract, bro. We're episode 53 right now.
fuck.
This is This is
yeah.
this
Do
is-
you
gotta
want an
bring it.
extension?
Yes, we're like Rick Tockett right now. We're in negotiations for our future. So, anyways, Hayden wanted to talk about re-releases and
Nostalgia.
well, I'm just and nostalgia, but let's give it to him and let's get into it.
So it kind of it does follow on. I mean, we started to look back on, like Shao was talking about, the original Mortal Kombat. So it's kind of a nice segue into what I'm going to put that to bed now. It's no longer segue, it's segue. Because Shao looked so disappointed in my use of the words. I was like, "Oh, I don't want to disappoint him. He's still on contract. He's still got. I think he had an extra week. on you, Justin. So he's good.
That's right.
But really, it came down to I was struggling to find something that would be entertaining for me to talk to this week, to talk to you guys about and discuss with you. And I was like, I was tossing ideas around, and I was like, I don't like any of these things. And then you talked about watching Super Mario Brothers last week, Shao, and then Justin, you shared that family photo of you guys all watching it. So I watched it last night, and it went with Shao's thing, but it was also, it brought up the idea of like being brought back to a new audience with a new interpretation of it. And it made me think, oh, like what else is there that's been like that? And at the same time, I know that it's the 20th year of Revenge of the Sith. And I remember going to that premiere when I was in university. I dressed up as a Jedi, or as a Sith actually, with a couple of my buddies, and we went to a midnight screening of it. Yeah. And then I saw a news article from Variety that of all of the films that are coming out, and Shao, you also told us that you went and saw Sinners, which is an original film, and it is the #1 film, which is great. It's not a franchise. It's not, an old IP re-release, but that was the #1 film. But the #2 film of the past weekend was the re-release of Revenge of the Sith, and it made big bucks. It made like $40 million as a re-release film on its 20th anniversary. And it got me to thinking, I was like, is this a timing thing? Is nostalgia now being utilized by music people, by TV and film people to kind of either reintroduce an old show or use the existing and bring it into a new audience? Like, so that was my question, and I was like, I'm going to bring this to the boys to see what they think. And I'm going to start with Shao, because his first initial response to me was very brief, and he is a man of few words, so let's see what he's got.
All I said was cash grab, right? That's what I said.
Yeah.
I do think it's a cash grab.
Cash grab. Next
Next
question.
question.
That's what I said. Yeah, I do believe that, but I do think it's at the end of the day, it's just smart to do that, because it obviously, like you said, it made so much money. It works. It's definitely feeding off nostalgia. It kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about earlier with the video games becoming movies or adaptations. Is that growing up, I think we have a soft spot for all these things, and we've gone through in the past couple decades of successful remakes and failed remakes, and I think more failures than successes. And we also were talking about briefly off air, I think this was, about how many times they've been remaking Ninja Turtles. And for someone, we all grew up were born in the 80s, and so we were more familiar with the first Ninja Turtles movie, where it was a little darker, and it was the costumes were real costumes and not CGI like the Michael Bay ones. And I don't know how long we've been just hoping and praying for something like the original, and it's still shocking to me that we haven't gone back to that. But the fact that they can re-release a movie like Star Wars Episode 3 and make that much money is I don't think they're doing it just with, oh, we're gonna give it for the fans for a nostalgia thing. Obviously, if that's the case, they would just let people watch it and not really have to make money off of it. But I'm not against it. It's just I don't think I really need to pay and watch it in the theater to really enjoy like an homage or just give tribute to that movie if I really liked it.
I think at the end of the day, we all know music industry, film industry, they're businesses, right? Their job is to make money, just like any other business. So it's really easy to look at that question and right away be like, yeah, of course they're just trying to make money. I mean, the reality is they wouldn't make money if there was an interest. So people are still interested. So it's definitely like a marriage, right? And it goes for bands too when they do comeback tours, or Elton John has done like 4 or 5 farewell tours or last tours. Like I think a little bit of that is money. Well, I mean, I'm sure some artists don't need to do it for the money, but they probably miss it. Like I know for me, like I was like, my favorite band is Rage Against the Machine, and I thought I would never get the opportunity to see them live. And what they did was all their tickets, because everybody's trying to fight scalpers, right? And so they sold every ticket, whether it was the floor or a nosebleed, for the same price. So like, I don't think that in every situation, like, I don't think they were doing it for money. You know what I mean? I think maybe there's some people that do it for money, like for just the money, I mean, but I don't think it's all the time. I think it's unique to the circumstance. And that's sort of what I feel about it, but definitely a cash cow. I don't think they're all going to be as successful as Revenge of the Sith. Like that seems like a lot. So that might be timing too.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Like the main music one that I was thinking of was that When We Were Young Fest, which has all of these bands that
I think that was a cash cow. That was trying to get cash.
yeah, and I looked it up, and the funny thing with that is I'm going to present a theory here, is that it first came out in 2017, which was almost 10 years ago. No interest, I didn't even know about it, and then it didn't release its lineup until 2022. So it was like another 5 years later. So I was like, oh, I wonder if it's because the people of our generation are now the ones that are in charge of this stuff. So I was like, oh, like theorize maybe 2017 we were still too young to be taken seriously, and then all of a sudden 5 years later it's like, this is a moment. There was something that happened where it was like suddenly everybody was trying. Are we like the current generation that is the most populous in terms of?
Oh my God, are we the boomers?
Yeah, so
Are we
I don't know. That's why I was like, are we
face.
all of a sudden the one that have the most say in things, and that's why all of a sudden we all are like reminiscing of our younger days.
Oh, that's very interesting because yeah, that's very interesting to think about. Like
'Cause-
I'd say millennials to Gen X. You know, you get a lot more boomers are retired now and out of the game, out of the business. You see less and less AC/DC and Rolling Stones and Dad Talica.
But see, and you look at some of those bands, and you're like, okay, I've never stopped listening to these people, but they might not be as big as they once were. And then all of a sudden, there's all this igniting of the interest, and it's the same with like, I mean, Star Wars is a huge franchise, and 10 years ago, if a film was 20 years old, it wouldn't have a movie re-release; it would have a special edition DVD or Blu-ray. And now maybe it's like. Maybe the cinemas are struggling, so they're like, can we do a cinema run of this film to help us out? Streaming is taking it away from us. So there's all these like factors that I was like, why is this suddenly? Why are people wanting to live in the past? I don't know. It was just very curious to me.
I have to say that you bring up very interesting points because that is exactly what they would have done to get sales was through re-releases of DVDs. But when you can't do that, what's your option? Get it on a streaming platform.
Netflix
Yeah,
presentation of Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so put it in the theaters.
Recently, there was, I think, at the Orpheum here in Vancouver, there was a mini, I guess you can call it a concert even, with, this is going to sound so horrible. It's the rejects of 3 major boy bands. So from NSYNC, there was Chris, I think Fitzpatrick, the guy with the dreads, and then there's one from, I think there is one guy from 98 Degrees, and then another guy from O Town or something like that, or whatever. And them 3 put on a concert, and nothing screamed desperation, I guess, more than that. I mean, so the main point was I get it, because even if you were in sync and whatnot, if you're not Justin Timberlake, you're not going to be making much money. You're still going to be making money, but probably not as much as you would like. And so you have to do these kind of things where I think on the outside it can, especially to people like me, can be like, ooh, looks like he needs some work, that kind of thing. But
so
it's just part of being an artist, I get that. So, but I think the general consensus is, oh my God, they're all washed up, blah, 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 blah. And
so do you think, obviously for sure, I would think that is one side of a coin.
Yeah.
But on the other side, I'm thinking, okay, you've done this. You're young, you're, if you're a member of NSYNC, you're hugely successful. 98 Degrees, less, O-Town. I'll have to Google them after. But, my point is that you've been doing this, right? And that's your career and you love it. You're an entertainer, man. You're putting on a show. Like, I always wish like I was like the front man of a band, I feel like I got that energy, that I could entertain a crowd. I'd love the spotlights on me. I have a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, who humbles me when I bring this up because he laughs at me at thinking that I would make a good front man. So I love him for that, but I truly believe it. So I'm thinking of these people, right? And you have that, and you have the success that comes with that, the fame, and then it's gone. And you see maybe some of the other people, they still have it, and you're still searching for it. And yeah, you'd probably not make money. Maybe you try and cut deals here and there, or sell perfume, or do car sales commercials, or cell phone, whatever to make money, but trying to also stay relevant. Like, let's be honest, because you kind of need to in that industry. So I could totally see doing it for the money, but I could totally see doing it like, hey man, like fuck it. You know what? They're older now, so it's like I just want to go and I want to sing and I want to put on a show, and if it's only for 1,000 people, like I want to do it because what I love seeing, like I love going to live shows. Some of the best ones and best experience I've had is when it is smaller venues and it's personal and you're right there with the band and the band is interacting with you, and then you reach the success and it's gone. I mean, that part of it's gone. So I could see how when you first kind of fall out of it, it might be a bit hard to do that because maybe it's a bit embarrassing, or you think you're better than that or whatever. Yeah. But I imagine like you'd hit a point and be like, let's go fucking put on a show, man.
Yeah, totally.
And make some money while we do it.
Yeah.
So that was a general consensus from the three of us that some of the things you do for the love of it, some of it is your management team or your studio heads that are trying to get the last little drip out of something. But things like Star Wars is its own beast. Thank you for
phrasing it that way, Hayden. Appreciate it.
But to move on from like nostalgia, we'll go into something that's progressing and it's new. And Justin, you came across a little bit of sporting news that would you like to share?
I did. Yes. Some very exciting news came out of Vancouver. And we're from Vancouver. Well, Shao and I, Hayden lives in Port Moody. No, further out, further out. Mission?
Not that far.
I don't know.
I'm part of Greater Vancouver.
No.
He's
GVA.
He loves saying that. But probably just barely.
Yeah. Like the border of the Fraser Valley.
In the last episode, he said we all live in the same city. I was thinking,
I laughed.
5 cities over. Yeah.
To me, it is one city. You don't go, I live in Burnaby. If you were traveling to Australia, you wouldn't say, I'm from White Rock or Burnaby or Kitsilano. You'd be like, I'm from Vancouver. Because people would know that. It's like when you go to LA, I'm not from, Encino or Hollywood or Malibu. You go, I'm from LA. So that's how I look at Vancouver. All of the different cities, it's just Vancouver.
It's a road that divides them. That's it.
Yeah.
But so some big news came out of Vancouver. We're getting our very first PWHL expansion team is coming here. The PWHL is the Professional Women's Hockey League. So this is not just good for the league, but for the city, women's hockey, and anybody who's kind of been waiting to see pro women's sports get more opportunity. So we're going to dig into this a little bit, what it means, how the league's growing so fast, and what we hope to see from this new team. So for those who don't know, some quick context, the PWHL launched recently, just 2 years ago, January 2023, 6 teams, all out east: Boston, Minnesota, Montreal, New York, Ottawa, Toronto. So women's hockey, it used to be like a scattered mess. So it's kind of brought together under the new PWHL. It's funded by Mark Walter Group, who owns the Los Angeles Dodgers, and Billie Jean King Enterprises. So it's kind of a big deal, really, because it's a proof of growth and sustainability within the league. Within 2 years, they're already looking to expand it. And Vancouver is about as far west as you can get in North America. So they're kind of expanding their reach, which is good. And the PWHL actually did a North American tour. They called it the Takeover Tour. And Vancouver they sold out, super successful when they were tracking it on all its social media engagement. So when they got into some of the things to why they chose Vancouver, and this is something I didn't actually know, and for those of you who don't know, I have a son who plays hockey. I coach the team, but they were saying that in BC, that the registration for hockey players, like youth hockey, is almost 50-50 for boys and girls. So I thought that's actually pretty cool. So I know, Hayden, you're not a huge hockey fan, so I'm going to sort of direct this first question to Shao.
Ah,
Because Shao, I know we talk a lot about Canucks, um, and I know you're a fan of hockey. So did you know? I don't know if you've watched any PWHL or followed it at all or knew anything about this being a possibility, but how did you sort of take the news, like when you found out we were getting a team, and did you have any idea that this was happening?
I did not know what was happening. I do remember the day I found out was I did my morning doom scrolling on Instagram, and that's the first thing I saw. I remember was I followed the score. Shameless, I know that's not really a plug, but they announced that that it was coming to Vancouver, and I think my first thought was about time kind of thing. I didn't even know there was only that you said there was only 6 teams right now. I thought there was
Yeah.
more, and I didn't, and then I also didn't know it was on the East. But it kind of surprised me that it took so long. Just because we're in a hockey market, and you see the WNBA just kind of blow up the past few years. You have some great storylines in the WNBA with some new rookies that are new players that are playing now, and Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese rather, right? And so I mean, I think there's gonna always be the people who it's okay. In all real talk, it's never gonna be as popular as NHL. Just period. It's not gonna get there. I don't want to sound like a, wet blanket, but it's just not, because I think when you have a sport like that where it's the fan base is really into the history of it, and the speed of it, the power of it, the intensity of the NHL and the fighting and stuff like that. I think when it crosses over to women's sports, it doesn't get quite there, you know. And so and there's no way that I think people would go if it was the same pricing as Canucks. Even now, I think Canucks pricing is like ridiculously high. So I would love to go watch a few games. I think people here, a lot of people can't even afford going to Canucks games anymore, and they would rather go to Warriors games, which is the lacrosse team here, which is the tickets are like $8 or something like that, max 20.
Beer's cheap and they just
Beer's
pound music
cheaper.
the whole time.
Yeah,
It's great.
exactly. So it's like a party. So I'm excited to see how it unfolds.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a team name yet, right, Justin?
No, and I'm gonna ask you guys for maybe some suggestions later. So
Yeah, yeah. So I
but
mean,
yeah,
as of right now, sorry, as of right now, it's just I'm looking forward to see how it all turns out. I'm excited to
I think
have them.
I honestly think it's gonna be really good. Like I know I'm gonna go because we have the Giants out here, which is our Western Hockey League team, our junior team, but they actually play out of Langley, so it's a bit of a trek.
Hmm.
And we have the Abbotsford Canucks, which is the Vancouver Canucks NHL farm team. They're in the AHL. Go Abby Canucks, round two, baby.
Nice, nice, nice.
So there is that culture here already, like the hockey culture, and I think it'll do good, man. Like I know I'm gonna go. I talked to a buddy. He already put in to try and get season tickets, but I think it'll probably just be a draw. Like if they get uh if they sell out, like oversell. So I really think it's gonna be good, and it's at the Pacific Coliseum, which is in Vancouver proper, and so it's closer. And so I'm like, I wish the Giants still played there. I'd go to way more
Yeah.
Giants games because it's still good hockey. Yes, I agree. It's not going to be NHL caliber ever. And when I watch, because I've watched some games, because it's pretty great actually now because they have TV rights, so you can watch the games. Um, it's still good hockey, man. Like it's still really good hockey. Shots aren't as hard. I mean, obviously it's not NHL caliber, but nothing is, right? That's why it's the NHL.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it to come. I'm hoping we can get some big names. And you talked about the women's basketball, and actually, like to that point in 2024, with Caitlin Clark, the NCAA women's basketball finals, it pulled 18.9 million viewers, which was more than the men's. Like it broke records.
Yeah.
So Hayden, like we're seeing this more and more. We're seeing it in women's basketball. We're seeing it now in women's hockey. I don't know what I mean, women's soccer. I mean, you have it in North America too, but I think it's still bigger at an international level. I don't know what it is there. Do you think we're still in the prove it phase for women's sports, or is that kind of over?
Good question, Mr. Justin. This particular announcement I had no clue of, but this proves like how running in different like algorithms works, right? Both of you guys are big hockey fans, so you'll obviously be more in the loop of announcements of this kind of caliber, whereas I am not at all. I think I follow the NHL, but it never pops up because there was another team that actually launched already, and they're 2 games into their season, and it was the Vancouver Rise, and that's a women's soccer team. They had their first game at BC Place, and Christine Sinclair, who's the highest international goal scorer of men and women, is on the board of that team. So obviously I was aware of that stuff going on, but they're in their own league as well. And that's sort of...
You know where they play? Do you know where they play?
They play at Swangard. That's their main stadium.
That's across the street from me.
Yeah.
They just had a game here yesterday.
Sorry, I just really quickly want to just fact check that. It doesn't say Hayden's following the NHL, which he claimed he did.
Maybe it's on Twitter.
He follows NFL and NBA, but not NHL. Anyways, go on.
Well, there we go.
Wow.
Fact check.
That's why you had your American T-shirt on yesterday. God damn it, man. Hayden, did you vote today? Did you
I'm
vote
not allowed.
today?
I'm not allowed to vote.
Yeah, probably for the fucking best.
Anywho, I'm a big fan. Okay, as an example, in Australia, and this is what I'm curious about for this women's league, specifically in the hockey and also kind of the Vancouver Rise. You already have successful franchises in the men's clubs, right? And Europe does this very well. They have... Hear me out. So in Australia, they have 3 different codes of football, and soccer is the 4th code. There's no men's team for Canberra, where I'm from, but there's every major team for the main club will have a women's team. So there is a Canberra Raiders men in the rugby league, and there's a Canberra Raiders women's. It's the same in Europe with Barcelona men, Barcelona women, Real Madrid men, Real Madrid women. All of those major leagues, parent club, men's team, women's team. And I was curious as to why not have all of these pre-existing franchises that have a men's team? Why don't they just introduce a women's team as well, instead of trying to have them build up from nothing in their own league? Because it would still be their own league. It would just be under the umbrella of the club, not necessarily a men's club, just the club name.
I like them having their own identity. I do.
But I don't see how it would not be their own identity. It would just be
like the women's connects team. Like it's got the same... I don't know. It seems, and I don't know if well, I can tell you why they wouldn't be able to have that here with hockey, because there's no money for it. Like they have to build up an audience, and not just an audience, but honestly, the talent pool.
That's my point.
You have to have the talent pool for it. So you have to get, and this is why it's so great that this is happening, is because then young women, young girls, they see that, hey, this is something I could do, or hey, women can be hockey players, football players, soccer players, whatever it is. And then when they start, you get more in, and the more developing, then you get a bigger talent pool to actually be able to put that many competitive teams together. Like, you know, we even like hockey. Sorry, last point, Hayden.
You're good.
In the NHL, like they just added 2 expansion teams, and they're talking about more. And one of the biggest things that the league is struggling with is, well, they're raising the salary cut for the next 3 years, so that's going to help teams. But as you add more teams, like there's only so many top elite athletes, and so when you start adding more teams, you need to add more people. Well, then you start having to spread that talent out more, and it's not the same. That's why like uh the Four Nations face off was so exciting for everybody. Like best on best is back.
Hmm.
That's what people want to see. So I think if you don't have the talent pool to support the franchise, then it's not going to be the same entertainment value. That's what I think.
It's a good point. It's kind of it's going in line with what I'm saying. Like you've yes, you need to have from your grassroots up, which I always when I debate sports in this house, which doesn't happen too often, but it's the same thing in Australia. You've got to start from the grassroots up, otherwise there's no point. But my point was like there's already it's not about men's versus women's. Not that your points were, Justin, just it's the club, right? The club should be the top, and what comes from the club should be what's there. So you would automatically have a step up from starting from scratch if you were part of an existing club. You would already have facilities there. You would have coaching teams. You would have all of that to allow you to bring in academies and create players and develop your pool of athletes to then feed into the club. So that's why I don't quite understand why they would try and start from scratch when there's already a network of major professional leagues and clubs that could just add another team to it that would have all the same facilities.
Maybe it's just like so when so for example, like I don't know if you guys watched the show, the Beckham documentary on Netflix.
Yep.
Like he was sort of brought in from a young age, right? And he played for like their youth team or something. Like, is that how it works over there? Because like here, when you develop players, you don't develop for a club. Like that's what these other leagues are for. And then teams, they draft you in from these other leagues. And then, there's, a first round pick, like, there's 7 rounds, but maybe like the people that players get picked in the top 10, maybe they play right away for their club. But a lot of the other players will either play for their farm team. Everybody has one farm team, or they develop them, which is sort of like what you're saying. But the other ones, they can go back and still play in the juniors, like the other leagues, but the club has their rights until they're a certain age, and then they have to sign them or they go to free agency. So they're technically still in it in a way, but they're like, or they own your rights is essentially what it is.
I literally had this exact conversation with Alex yesterday because other members of the household were watching the NFL draft, and the draft process is so foreign to me because I come from a culture where, like you were saying in the Beckham documentary, you start at a club from a young age and they would develop you up into, you can, if you're good enough, you go into the senior squad and whatnot, and then if you're not, you drop back down, which is similar, but it's like the draft process is so foreign to me that they make it such a big deal. I'm like, well, the sports that I follow, you naturally progress through your club's system of teams.
So you kind of get the rights to them from a younger age. Is that how it works? Like, do you ask them to come play from your, like, hey, this 12-year-old showing some talent, 14, whatever, let's bring them into our club?
Yep.
Essentially. Do they sign a contract right then?
They probably would. If they have if they trial and they're successful. It's not so much like that in Australia. I don't even know, but most like the European style. But anyway, I'm sidetracking from your question. I don't think they need to prove it anymore because there is coaching staff that wants to work with a female or like audience and players, and they're being given the opportunities that they weren't before. And it's obvious that there is like women athletes too, and that they can do it, and they've been given the opportunities. They're getting the training facilities to be able to play on the best grass, to be on the best ice, to have the best skills trainers. So there's definitely I don't think they need to prove it anymore because the skill will be there. Like when I go to the rugby sevens every year, I look forward to watching the Australian women's team more than the men's because they are absolutely dominant. Them and the New Zealand women, the top two teams in the world, and the skill level is insane. And these women play multiple sports. There'll be rugby, there'll be AFL, there'll be sprint athletes, and they all kind of, oh, you're really good at that? Let's put you in this sport because we know that you've got athletic ability and we'll teach you the skills that you need. Boom, go, be successful. And it's working. So I think the same would work for the hockey and for the soccer teams and any other sport that, like, case in point as well, also, Women's World Cup for soccer was held in Australia last year, 2 years ago. Australia has no dedicated soccer facilities. Like, we all piggyback off other codes of football. When the Women's World Cup was announced, Australian government was like, here's a bunch of money, build a facility just for your team. Became the first designated sports soccer facility for the women's team, and it's now being used for a whole bunch of teams. But I was like, they got their own thing because they had proven that they were more successful and they were more popular than the men's team at that time, and they probably still are. So I think absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think personally, until the PWHL, where you could actually start watching games, and I'm excited they're coming here. I'm going to go to games. I'm with you on rugby, man. I don't know what it is about that sport. I don't watch rugby. I love watching rugby sevens, but watching the Canadian women rugby sevens, especially when they crushed the Australians in the Olympics.
I was like, they did what?
It was.
So the only time they've ever beaten them at the Olympics.
Yeah, the only time it matters. But no, I say that as a joke, but I really enjoyed watching it. And it's funny because I don't think of when I was watching it like, oh, I'm watching women's rugby. You know what I mean? It's just like, this was good. It had the entertainment value that I want when I'm watching a sport. And that's what it comes down to for me as an audience member. And so, I think as, the talent pool grows in the PWHL and in women's hockey, like if you look at men's hockey, this is gonna be my last point, and then I'm going to wrap it up. It always used to be Canada, Russia. Like that was it, man. That was a rivalry. Now it's Canada, USA. But Sweden, man, like Sweden puts out teams now. Sweden's competitive. And then and then Finland, and you got the Czechs, and you're just and then like you can see it growing in other countries. And that's sort of like women's hockey right now is basically Canada, USA. So the talent pool, like when you think of what makes up the NHL, you don't just have North Americans now, like it's and Russians, like you're getting the talent pool. When I'm talking about that, I'm not just talking about locally, like it's globally that make up the NHL. And so for women's hockey, I think this is big because it's not just good for Canada and USA, but for women's hockey all around the world. And once that you see that start growing too, then the talent pool is going to get bigger. We can get more expansion teams. And I think it's like, I wish it so much success. I'm really excited to have a team that's like 15 minutes from my place. Like it's going to be affordable, can bring the family. It's going to be a great atmosphere. I'm really, really looking forward to it. But we've run out of time today. I know that last topic kind of went a little bit into something else, but
it happens.
But it was really interesting to learn more actually about how soccer works. Because it is so different. Like the draft day is so exciting, for North American sports. So let's leave it there. Shao, thank you. It was nice to go deeper into gaming. Hayden discussing re-releases, the nostalgia versus the cash cow is a very interesting points that you brought up in that. That was fun to get into. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in this week. Episode 53. Whew. We are officially not on the 1 year, but past the 1 year. We're going to be back next week, so make sure you tune in. We'll see what we'll get into. We'll each bring a topic again and see where it takes us. If you're liking the show, don't forget to subscribe. You can follow us on social medias, Chummy Thumbs. And until next week, keep on
Thumbing.